All right, the next thing I'd like to work on is the transmission right back here. You can see it right here with that foot pedal coming out of it. And I've got a couple of images over here in the reference images. We've got this one. That's a pretty good image of it. And then I found on the internet an image of just a 1936 transmission just out on a countertop here on a workbench. And I think this will help just get a sense of where it's going back and how far it should go back to that chain cover that we created over on the other side here. So this right here is the back of this. So I think this helps us just, or at least it helps me get a sense of where the objects are supposed to be and how they're connected, because I'm certainly not an expert on motorcycle engines or anything like that. I just really love kind of discovering how something is built and put together through the act of actually reconstructing it, recreating it here in 3D. You learn a lot about how things are created by trying to create them yourself. So the first thing I'd like to try to get is this rim. I think I want to create a circle, get this rim here, and then extrude it out to get this part here. And once that's done, I'll then extrude back toward the chain into the center. So let's go to the side view, the left orthographic view with Control Numpad 3. And then I'll press Shift-C to go to wireframe, and you can see that piece here. So I've got the cursor in the center of the grid. I'm just going to press Shift and right click and kind of drag it over here, somewhere around in here. And then I'll begin with a circle. I'm going to press Shift A, Mesh, Circle, and let's try 24 sides. And then I'll bring this down to 0.1 just to shrink it down a bit. And then let's turn it in the Y-axis, RY90, and here it is. And then I'll just scale in the Z a bit. Kind of get it in place, get it about the right size. So I think I want it to be something like this. I'm trying to match it to the outside rim. And if we tab into edit mode, we can see the points here. Maybe I'll take these and maybe scale them out in the Z. Just try that. Kind of bring that out because I feel like it's a little bit, it isn't perfectly oval. So I just think there's some work that we could do to kind of bring these down a bit maybe so it's a little flatter on top. And it's really hard to know exactly what it's going to be like underneath here. We can't really see it here and we can't really see it here. It's hidden by the exhaust pipe here, so we kind of have to wing it, I think, on the underneath part. Now, this area here looks like it could come in maybe. Let's try this. I'll just begin selecting points and hitting the G key and see if we can get these in place. All right, let's tab into edit mode, press Shift Z, and let's take a look at it. So I'll bring this out. We don't really have a sense yet of where this is going to go, but it looks kind of like, well, it's hard to tell exactly where it should be currently. We're probably going to need other reference images for that, but we can see that the exhaust is outside the frame here, and this is kind of up against the exhaust. So we could probably say it's right around in here. Let's try that for now. And then what I'm going to do is tab into edit mode and just hit the A key here. And I want to extrude to get this little rim here. So I think I'll just hit EX and pull out a bit. And then I want to scale in, hit ES and scale in a bit like this. And I'm getting this right here. And then also we could scale in back here, ES, and scale in a bit back here. And then I could select this front row and let's start getting that basic shape. So I'll hit EX and pull out a bit. And then I'll hit ES and scale in and then pull these out. Let me go over to my move manipulator here and I'm just going to pull out a bit like this. And maybe we could scale this one in just a little like that. There we go. So I'm just trying to get this kind of curved shape here. And I'll press ES and bring that in and then bring it out some. ES in, bring it out. And then this area here looks like it's pretty flat, so I think I could just hit ES and then merge these all together. I'll press the M key and merge at the center there. So we've got something that kind of looks like that. I'll smooth it. And then I feel like it's a little bit wider here. It should go out a little bit more. So let's scale that. Let's select this and press Shift S2 to move the cursor to that edge. And then let's change to the 3D cursor here. And now we can select these points. I'll just press Control and the plus key on the numpad and go back to here. And now let's scale in the X. I'll press SX and just push that out a bit like this, because I feel like it just comes out a little bit more there. And then we could maybe even scale from here, do the same thing again, and maybe actually flatten this. We could try that. So let's just see how that works. Yeah, it comes out just a little bit more. That's, I think, what I wanted there. We could also take these edges back here. We could just select an edge here, press Control and plus, and then just push this back. So if I change back to the median point, I could then just drag this back like that. So I'm just trying to get that general shape here, or at least the width of it. And then we could take this edge right back here, the one that we created, well, right here, that one. And we could extrude this back all the way to where that chain guard is. We could hit EX and pull back and just pull into right about here, let's say. Just for now. We're just trying to get a sense of it. It is smooth, so I'm going to come over here to the Object Data Properties and choose Auto Smooth. We could probably drag this up a bit and smooth that out. From here, I want to get these cylinders, and they are really growing out of this, but I don't think I'm going to work that hard for this. I'm going to use actual cylinders and place them there, and then put the bolts on the front. So if we go to the front here, I'm going to maybe create a cylinder here, like this. Take this down to maybe 12 sides. Reduce the radius to 0.1 and 0.2. Let's change to triangle fan, and then let's scale down, maybe scale in the Z, and I'm going to turn it in the Y, RY90. And then let's hit G and move these up here into here like this. So something like this. Let's see how that looks. I'll take this back, and I think I'll bring it back pretty far so it's kind of hidden in there. Kind of hidden in there, maybe. And then, well, we could pull them out like this, I guess. Let's smooth it. And we can turn on Auto Smooth here and drag that up a bit so we get that. So yeah, I think I just want to do this and then put a few bolts on the front, just because we can spend a whole lot of time dealing with this, but I think this will work pretty well. Let's press Shift D and here, and I'll press Shift D and put one here. There's probably one down here, I would say, even though we can't really see it. It looks like there may be one or two over here. Let's take this one and move this over here. It's very hard to tell with everything going on in there, but I'm going to go ahead and put them here for now. And let's go back and see how we're doing. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. It looks like we've got a couple of bolts here because of this piece. We could, as I said, if we wanted, we could take these and move them back just a bit so they kind of hide behind that rim. We could try that. And then put the bolts over those. And then let's see if we can get this kind of thing right here. I think maybe if we take a couple of faces and delete them, we may be able to get this type of piece. So maybe we remove these 4 faces here, and then we could just take these edges and extrude them straight out. So EX and pull out like this. And so we're getting kind of that little platform there. And then maybe we could take these two and move them back a bit. Move this forward, move this forward. So we're just kind of building this shape. And then we could connect these up with bridge edge loops with Control E and bridge edge loops. And then maybe we could actually take these faces here, hit the F key, and these faces here. Let's see what happens. All right, we've got that. So I think now I'd like to take these and kind of bring them in the Y, SY, like this. Kind of bring them in like that. So we're just getting that little kind of platform on the top so we can put a cylinder here. And so if we wanted to grab a bolt that we've already created, we did one up here on the fender, didn't we? That's where we got the other one. Let's take this one right here. And let's duplicate that, Shift D, Y, I'll bring it out. And over here is where we want it, right? So let's bring that over to this side. And let's bring it over here kind of close to where we'd want it. And then I'll hit the period key on the numpad and I'll press Control 3. And we really want to put it straight up and down, so I'll hit the N key to bring up the sidebar over here. And let's take the rotation out of the x-axis. I'll just type in 0 and that'll straighten that up. And then let's turn it in the y-axis. I'll press RY90 and it turns in the wrong direction. So now we hit the negative key and that spins it around. So that's in the correct orientation now. And let's bring this over and try and put this in place. I'll press Control numpad 3 and Shift Z to go to wireframe. And let's just hit G and move this into one of these cylinders here and scale it up a bit and see how we do. So let's say it's about like that. Let's try this. Okay, so it needs to go back into here. Hit that period key again. And maybe I'll scale it in the x-axis so it isn't quite as thick. And let's see how that works. Maybe let's pull it up a bit. Bring it over a smidge and maybe I'll press RX and spin it some. Let's see how that works. Is that too big? I feel like it's too big. Bring it down just a hair. Yeah, let's try that. Let's see how that works. So from here, let's then just select it and let's begin placing these all around. So Shift D here, Shift D. And I'll just bring them around and put them in place and see how they look. And as I've said, what I'm really trying to do is not create an exact replica of the motorcycle, but create an impression of it that's believable, that has enough detail that the eye can kind of pass over it and not really get too bogged down on any one piece. And hopefully it all works together and kind of blends together and you get a sense that it is the motorcycle and that all the details are appropriate. All right, so we've got a good basic shape, I think. In the next video, let's kind of finish it up with the pedal arm here. We'll create the spring here. We probably won't create a coil, but just a cylinder with some ridges for that. And we'll try and just get it to the point where, as I said, there's enough detail there so that it's believable and works within the space. So that's coming up next.